Now in section 2.4, we're going to look at whether or not renting a car is something that people would want to do for traveling. Renting a car is actually pretty darned expensive. A lot of people think that it's pretty cheap to rent a car, and that may be because if you've ever had an accident or something's happened with your car, it actually is not very expensive to rent a car when your insurance company is paying for it. But the insurance company actually has a pretty good discount with these car rental places, and individuals don't necessarily get that same rate at all. I've included actually some prices on here of what it costs to rent a car. So if you just want a very small economy car, it's $61 a day. If you want a 7-passenger minivan, it's going to cost you $109 a day. Sometimes people even rent trucks for different reasons, and those, if you want one that can actually have quite a bit of towing power, it's going to cost you $125 a day. So it's not exactly a cheap option to do it, but there are people that definitely want to rent a car. In addition, the prices for these car rentals include unlimited mileage. So at the time that this book was published, car rentals didn't used to have unlimited mileage, but they do now. So the price differences nowadays versus the price that's published in this book, it's a lot different, and that's because they're not quite the same thing. So why would somebody want to rent a car then? It's definitely not because it's cheaper. If you go on a long trip, this will depreciate your car, and we saw this in chapter 1. So all this wear and tear you're putting on your car, that means your parts are wearing out faster, and you actually need to replace those parts or have maintenance done to your vehicle if you're constantly driving your car. If you lease a car, you may not have the extra miles to drive it on a long trip. So if you don't have the mileage, you may decide to rent a car. In some cases, people's cars are not reliable. For us, we don't really like to take our vehicles on long trips if they have more than 200 or 250,000 miles on them. And I will take it someplace that's 100 miles away or so, but I don't want to take it out west where I'm driving 1,600 miles or even 2,000 to 3,000 miles on a trip. I don't want to take something out there that's really old because I'm afraid that it might not be reliable. And in a desert and out west, there's no cell phone service, so I can't even get someone to help me if my car breaks down. In some cases, people's cars aren't big enough to go on the trip they want to go on, so they need to rent something that's a little bit bigger so their family is more comfortable. And then sometimes you just want to have a really fun car on your trip. I remember one time I went on a trip and it was in the middle of summer and we were on these islands and we rented a convertible car, and it was just a lot of fun. So we didn't do it to save money, we did it to have fun. So let's see some sample problems that involve renting a car. So in this first problem, we have a missionary family needs to rent a minivan while home on furlough, and they have two options. Option A, they can rent a car for $12.90 a month and it has unlimited mileage. And in option B, they can rent a car for $7.20 and they get 1,000 miles per month with that, but they have to pay 25 cents for every mile if they go over that 1,000 miles. They say here that they anticipate that they will drive 2,000 miles per month. So which option should they go with? So up here I can see this is the price for option A. I don't need to do anything with that. I really need to calculate out what would it cost me for option B. So I know that I'm going to be paying for the rental. And then I also know that mileage wise, I estimate I'm going to drive 2,000 miles a month. I have an allowance of 1,000 miles a month, so that means I'm planning to go over by 1,000 miles per month. And the cost of that is 25 cents per mile, which means it's going to cost around $250 a month for the mileage. Well, if I add that mileage cost on, because this is going to be for the additional miles, the price of renting with option B is $970. So option B is actually much cheaper than option A because option A was unlimited. And I'm like, well, I'm not even going to need that many miles anyways. So option B, this would be a cheaper rate. The second question is, a pastor at a church is helping a family move and they're trying to rent a box truck. And they're given two different options for these box trucks. Truck A is 10 feet long, 9 feet wide and 7 feet high. Truck B is 11 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 7 feet high. And both trucks cost the same amount of money. So Pastor would like to get the truck with the largest capacity. So which truck should he rent? Well, volume is what we really want to see on these trucks. And we want to calculate that out. And a formula for volume is the height times the width times the length. So this is a formula you probably learned in another class, but this is really what we're trying to calculate out. So we're given these things. The first thing we're given up top is the length. The next thing we're given is the width, and then we're giving how high it is. So for truck A, I have that the truck is 10 feet long, 9 feet wide, and 7 feet high. And then for truck B, I have that it's 11 feet long, 8 feet wide, and 7 feet high. So the height is the same, it's just the other two are different. So when I multiply these out, truck A has the capacity of 630 cubic feet, and then this truck has the capacity of 616 cubic feet. And the reason I came up with that is I have feet, 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 and when I multiply my feet times my feet times my feet, I have feet times feet times feet, which is feet cubed. And this would be the same thing over here. This would also be feet cubed. So if I'm looking at this, they're the same price. Well, this one has a little bit more cubic foot capacity. So if I were going to rent a truck, I would recommend, or I would rent truck A. I would recommend A to Pastor as well.